Hello. The Splunk legal team requires that I share the following. As you might expect, we'll be making forward-looking statements about our business and financial performance during the course of this presentation. Those statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that are described in our filings with the SEC. Please refer to the full text of the forward-looking statement slide for further information. We ask that you refrain from audio or video recording or rebroadcasting any of the content. If you're watching during a scheduled day and time and want to ask a question, the Q&A is being moderated during this 30-minute session. If you're watching on demand, visit the extended speaker Q&A booth under the Watch and Learn tab. The presentation slides can be downloaded by clicking on Handouts. Enjoy the session.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today as we talk about jumping to hyperspace, publish apps at light speed with open source. We've done a lot of great work here, speeding up the app publishing process for our partners and for our users and customers. And we're really excited to get right to it. First, let's start with a couple of introductions. Dan with me today is the VP of Technical Strategy and Program Management over at Domain Tools. He's been there about a year. He's in charge of all their integrations, including all the ones with Splunk and the Splunk SOAR one that we're going to talk about today. And he's from the DC area.
Thanks, Matt. I'm really happy to work with you today. Matt is the Senior Program Manager at Splunk, handling the Splunk SOAR app marketplace here. He's been with Splunk about a year and a half, and the timing couldn't have been better. We were just planning an update to our app, to our integration there on the Splunk SOAR platform. And Matt just happened to reach out saying, hey, we've got this new platform, you know, test it out. And we did, we're glad we did. And I'm really happy to share our experience with all of you here today. So just a reminder for everyone, please use the comments. Tell us what you like, dislike, how much hair Matt has, how little I have. We're here to respond to everything.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. Thank you again to you and your team for helping us iron out this process and making it as good as we can for all of our users and other partners. Before we really launch into it, can you tell us a little bit about what Domain Tools is and what it does?
Sure, Matt, thanks. So Domain Tools is really your partner in the SOC. We share a collective mission with Splunk SOAR to help you make those decisions faster. We have the world's largest collection of active and passive DNS, both through Domain Tools, historical data going back to 2001. You'll know us as the Whois company, but we have DNS, we have passive DNS through our acquisition of Farsight last year. And we really work with everyone from government agencies to the Fortune 500 to a lot of small shops too, to help you make that decision faster in the SOC of whether this is an actionable piece of threat intel.
That's good stuff. And it's necessary, right? Because there's a cybersecurity skills gap. And unfortunately, we hope no one in the audience today actually believes this graphic we have on the screen. But it's hard to find security engineers. Burnout's a big problem in the industry. And the whole point of SOAR and tools like yours is to help make it better for analysts to be able to address these kinds of issues. We're unambiguously the good guys here, and we all want to protect our environments together.
Yeah, we're here to work together to help jointly improve customer outcomes. We want to help you engage with your customers and really find that right balance between understanding customer use cases and delivering your apps in a quick and predictable manner. So we'll talk about that more here in the coming demos.
Right, and we're able to help our customers and users by improving this publishing process that we alluded to. So Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit what it was like before?
Sure, so think about the scenario. You're an app publisher, you have your release on the doorstep, ready to go. Your developers are done, they're wrapped up, they have called it release ready. You're talking to your go-to-market team saying, hey, we've submitted this for publication. We know there's probably a long queue of apps ahead of us. It could be approved sometime in the next week. It could take a month. We might be able to hear something back and say, oh, there's another change, context switching for the developers back and forth between integrations there. And let's say you're in the SOC. You have the problem where you're installing something there. You don't know what it is. You don't have the ability to make a change to it. It's all closed source. So there's got to be a better way. Matt, what do you have for us?
Yeah. there must be a better way, right? So that's what we did. We automated as much as we possibly could to put the power in the hands of our partners. Back in the day, like Dan said, it was sending emails back and forth, trying to coordinate. It's not that great. We're opening tickets, trying to get it in our queue, but we automated everything. And Splunk, from the SOARce side, is just trying to get out of our partner's way. And we have actually, not exaggerating, decreased the amount of time it takes from months to minutes. And this collaboration has just immensely benefited everybody. But now, what does this actually look like in practice? It's very simple. Dan, walk us through it.
Yeah, really, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It really is a 3-step process here. The partner submits a update on GitHub. That's run through the automated checks. It shows up there on Splunkbase, and then either automatically or with a click, your customers can have that in Splunk SOAR. That's all there is to it. So we can go home now, right?
Yeah, well, not quite. I think there's plenty of time left in this talk. So now that we have this new process in place, what are some of the benefits? It's fast. Not exaggerating. Used to take months. Now it takes minutes. And there's also the multitude of open source benefits, like better security, because you've got more eyeballs on it, greater collaboration across the industry, because again, more eyeballs on it, the transparency, you can see the code. It's not a secret. Let's all work together to make these things better together. And it matters to you because we're still ensuring these things are secure. It's a quality submission. And I think I mentioned it's fast already, right?
You might have, just a couple of times. And from a partner's point of view, really the predictability and the speed of that feedback, knowing within 5 minutes that this app is going to be ready to go, having that control to say, hey, this is on the doorstep when our GTM team is ready, just click publish, and there it is right there for customers. And the other thing is really connection to our customers, being able to take customer submissions and incorporate that into our app in order to better align our app with the many use cases that are out there. So you'll see more of that in the coming demo here.
Yeah, that's huge. So far we've talked about this new publishing process. It's fast. The customers, they get the latest updates without Splunk being a middleman. And of course, our partners benefit greatly, more tightly coupled and able to help each other out even more. So just one more reminder, use that chat box if you have any questions. So Dan, you're going to show us a demo. Tell us a little bit about the Domain Tools app and what we're going to see.
Sure. So what you're looking at here is a screen cap of our app in Splunk SOAR. And you're seeing really an investigative workflow, the automated actions that take place. You can pivot off of domain artifacts, off of IPs, and see all of that connected infrastructure. We have been a partner of Splunk SOAR, formerly Phantom, since 2016. It is one of our more robust integrations, helping you to empower your SOC to make that decision-making faster. You can see who is information, web hosting information, MX records, SSL certs, and really trying to capture all of that into a domain risk score. It's a fairly unique type of risk scoring that is looking from the moment that a domain gets registered online in a zone file or seen in passive DNS traffic. From that moment, we are already predictively, as much as 2 weeks ahead of time, able to say whether this domain is likely to be used for malicious purposes. And armed with that information, you can look at that in your SOC and make a very quick decision as to whether or not you want to allow this. So what you're going to see in the demo today. So first of all, we just launched a product last week at RSA called Iris Detect. So with that, we need to make a change to our Iris app. It was called Domain Tools Iris in Splunk SOAR. We're going to be pulling all of that Iris Detect functionality shortly into Splunk SOAR. But for now, what the demo you're going to see today is the rebranding of Domain Tools Iris to Domain Tools Iris Investigate. It's a small text change that somebody like me can make. And you'll see what happens when I submit that pull request, see the automated checks that happen. And finally, you'll see that app published on Splunkbase.
So here we go.
So this is the Domain Tools Iris Investigate app for Splunk SOAR. Those of you who are familiar with Splunk apps will recognize that this is actually administrator tools for Splunk SOAR. So now that we've adopted our app, we can control the page here, upload screenshots, and edit this description the same as a Splunk app. Here you can see we have Iris Investigate with the pivots and playbooks that it enables. That's a far more complicated playbook. And then here it's pulling in the risk scores for a domain. So today we are going to go through and rebrand this. I've already gone through Splunk Base and renamed it from Domain Tools Iris to Domain Tools Iris Investigate. And that's there because we have launched a new product called Domain Tools Iris Detect. So this is a way to distinguish the two apps here. And so for Domain Tools Iris Investigate, I've gone through and it's entirely a documentation related change today. So here I am, I've checked in all my doc changes here to this rebranding branch. So I'm going to go into pull requests. I'm going to do a new pull request from the rebranding branch. And I'll create a new one. And so first thing here is I need to follow the naming conventions. And it's going to be Domain Tools, I can't type and speak, Iris Investigate, documentation, rebranding to Iris Investigate. And we have a checklist here. We do control some of the items in this checklist. So if you want to have a custom checklist for your own developers, you can change that there. This is a documentation change. I will create the pull request. And there it is. If I scroll down here, you can see, well, first of all, there's a review required, and then all of this automated checking is going on. Matt will talk about that in a little bit. So I'm going to go, normally I would flip over, I would have a developer or somebody else peer review this. This code has already been peer reviewed. So I'm just going to flip over to my personal account over here, and I will review the pull request for the sake of the demo here. There it is. And down here, review required, add my review. And step through the review changes there. Here, I am going to go ahead and approve it. I'm going to see, in just the time it took me to review that pull request, you can see all of the scans have already finished here. I'm going to flip back to my primary account. So there it is. All the tests have passed. And now I just merge this to the branch. So there it is. So the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to see this pull request going from next into main. So I've got to go in here, and there it is. I need to review this. So this is the automation that created this pull request here. There are my changes again. I'll go in, approve that. Same as before, merge into main, and there we go. So now, it might take a few minutes, but let's take a look over now in Splunk Base and see if it's there. All right, I will just fast forward a couple minutes and we'll see how long it takes. So that was only about 5 minutes, not bad for an update. You see version 1.2.3 there, and there are release notes, updated branding to Iris Investigate. That could be applied either automatically or with a single button click, depending how the user has that configured, and that is available immediately.
Yeah, so there it is live on Splunk Base. So Matt, how do you make sure that these changes actually meet your quality standards?
Well, so we don't just accept everything, right? We'd like to, but we do have to do some cursory checks, beginning with some basic linting. That's making sure the code meets our general quality standards, it's the right conventions, etc. And then we move on to some security scans. So if there's any known vulnerabilities in your code, well, we make sure we get those taken care of first, so they don't end up in the final product. Some licensing checks, make sure it's all very friendly, Apache 2.0 for businesses, for contributors. And then, of course, you saw in your demo that PR questionnaire. I'm personally a big fan of checklists because it makes sure you've got eyes on every piece to make sure it's ready to go.
So just to recap, you saw me submit that app change through GitHub, the pull request there. You saw the automated checks occur, and in minutes, you saw that they're available for customers to utilize immediately in Splunk Base. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments. We're here to answer your questions. So I know I've enjoyed this new process. I know some of your other partners have as well. So Matt, what do some of the other partners think about this process?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. Our friends at TwinWave, they've mentioned this was all really easy for them, very intuitive. And our friends over at Gray Noise, they said all the same things you did about how great it was to have the timeline in their own hands and knowing that with our checks, it's still a quality submission that meets our standards. If you're a partner, hopefully you're seeing the benefits here.
So certainly partners benefit, but what about users? I recently had a customer reach out to me saying, hey, I want to make a change to your app to be able to process the format of log files that I'm seeing here. We need to change the way we process these domains. Can I do that? How does it look like from customers' perspective there, Matt?
Yeah, the answer is easy. Yes, of course. I mean, that's one of the benefits of open source, right? It's out there and anyone can contribute. So we're going to show you another demo here in just a second, where I'm going to take the persona of one of these users. Say that user is a PM who works at Splunk, who notices there's some small little change in your app that maybe could make it way better, amazing. And how would I do that? Do I need to be a superstar coder? Not necessarily. I mean, if I am, I could do cooler things, but in this demo, let's get your fingers stretched and let me show you how we do it.
So let's see what it would look like to contribute to domain tools. Here I'm looking at their GitHub repo on GitHub. And let's say I'm taking a look at this main connector file, this Python file, and I am an enterprising product manager, and I know that we changed Phantom to SOAR recently, and I noticed in their code there's a reference here to Phantom. I want to change that to SOAR because I want things to be a little more consistent. So I'll come down here, change this to SOAR, and propose this change. So I'm going to make a pull request. How do I do that? Updating Phantom reference to SOAR. Propose change. Now I can create a pull request by clicking here. This shows you a template that's got a lot of stuff we can pre-select what we're doing. I'm going to come down here and mention that I'm doing a documentation update. Put an X there. Make sure that everything else is correct. My due diligence, and now I'll create a pull request. And at this point, the pull request is created. And now Dan can take a look at this, make sure it passes the checks, and see if it's something that he wants to accept.
So I see I just got a pull request notification from some Matt guy who's adding a change to my app. That's great. Let me click in on that and see what's changed. I see there's a single file that's changed. Okay, it's just a documentation change. That's pretty low risk. I'm fine with that. So let's see, he submitted the checklist. It's a documentation change. That's all there is. I see the static check is failing, but I'm familiar with that error. It's a minimum version check that we're going to be addressing here. So I'm going to merge that and then just going to confirm on that merge. And then that's all there is to it. All set.
Now, what if you're a new app developer? How do you start from scratch and build a new app here?
Well, that's also pretty easy. And you can do it all entirely within Splunk SOAR with our new app editor. I'm going to show you how quickly we can do it in just a couple of minutes right now.
So let's create the app. Here on the apps page, you'll notice we have an app wizard button. And this will take us to make some basic app information. So the name, my fancy app description. Well, it does fancy things. The vendor, it's going to be me, Matt. And the name, Matt's Fancy Product. Publisher, let's also make that me. And here we can pre-select some types here. And I'll give you a few. None of these will pigeonhole you, but for demo purposes, let's pick information. And let's get some logos in here. Light theme, dark theme. Everyone loves dark theme these days. I'm personally not a fan. And here we are in the app editor. On the left, you'll notice some basic configuration. Here on the right, you'll notice the actual source code of the app. And you can see the different files that we've put boilerplates for you. So an app needs to do things. So let's add an action. Everything does test connectivity by default, but my fancy product does other things. So let's add an action. Here in the app category, we had picked information earlier, and so that gives you a few generic type actions that various products across the industry would also implement. So my fancy product will do a lookup URL. And here is the action with the different various parameters you can have. These are by default domain, gives you a description, and various other attributes. I'm going to accept the defaults and confirm that yes, my lookup URL action will do those things. And here we see in the app editor that it created the function for me along with some boilerplate. And this is where we will implement the action. For the demo, we're not going to type anything. We're just going to look and appreciate all the beautiful commented code that's here for us. And at this point, I can save the app. If I had an asset, I would select it here, but I don't because my fancy product doesn't exist. But if I could select an asset, I can test this action and it'll run this lookup URL against it. And we can test and repeat until it works perfectly. But today, we're gonna show you that you can download it. And here, it'll download my fancy app and all these files so that I can work on it in my own environment. Or I can leave this page. Yes, I will leave the site. And I'll be able to see in the draft apps here, my fancy app with the fancy product that does fancy things. And I can go back to edit it and continue my process of editing. And once I'm done, I'll publish it. And once it's published, we can go back to our app screen, leaving the site once again. And we'll be able to see my fancy app in the unconfigured app screen with everyone else. And there it is with the supported actions, lookup URL, test connectivity. And at this point, we can configure a new asset. And that's how you create your app.
All right, I'm going to recap everything you've seen so far. You saw from an app publisher's point of view how quickly and easily we can update apps. Secondly, you saw that connection with our customers, being able to accept community contributions within apps. And thirdly, you saw from Matt there how easy it is to create an app from scratch.
Now, obviously, you'd have to do a little more to make it more functional than what we just saw in that demo. But with all that in mind, let's go build apps together. You saw how easy it was and how simple it was for users, for partners. Let's get at it. And you won't do it alone. We've got a huge community. So you're probably asking, how do I put this into action? If you're a partner, start by signing up for Partnerverse. That's the first step. There's a form in there that you can fill out, gets you in touch with me directly, and we'll get your app in your hands. And another big part of this, and Dan and I use this extensively, was signing up for Splunk's Slack, our user groups community.
Yeah, I can certainly speak for how valuable of a resource that has been, both for being able to find out and have other users who are going through, other contributors who are going through the same things that we are, as well as being able to have that direct connection with people at Splunk, such as Matt.
It was helpful for me and Dan just putting this presentation together for you. And there was one time I was on a call with a customer and they were asking about various apps and what we have planned for them. And then he got down his list to domain tools. And I said, oh, let me actually pause you right there. Domain tools, they're in control of that app. And let me get you in touch with someone I know who might be able to help you with that. And just, sent them over to Dan on Slack. It was great. Submitting ideas, very helpful. It helps me as a PM. We have ideas.splunk.com, where you're able to help me prioritize the feature requests from our many customers. And of course, like we mentioned many times, our open source GitHub repository, it's where all the code lives. It's where you can go and see exactly how these things are put together. And then of course, try out domain tools. Dan?
Yeah, I'll invite you. Please try out domain tools. If you're watching this virtually, of course, try it out at domaintools.com, or you can find us on Splunkbase.
That's right.
And finally, thank you. I want to give you a genuine thank you for spending time with us, the 30 minutes you spent with us today to learn about how to update and contribute to apps on Splunk Base. We recognize that you have other talks, hundreds of other talks you could have been at right now. So thank you for joining us for this time.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining. All session recordings and slides will be available on .conf online in a few days. Please answer a few quick questions about this session that will pop up in this window, and watch for the official session survey sent to your email. We hope to see you at .conf 23. Onward.